a little bit in the last few weeks. We're down to about 35,000 again. I don't think VJ Day had the same appeal that Armed Forces Day had and VE Day, but still pretty impressive numbers, I think, for an institution that's not used to embracing technology.
That's fabulous. And do you get a sense of where those views are coming from geographically? Does it give you those statistics?
Yes, we do. The Lieutenancy Office will have those. One of the things that we do know is that we're certainly reaching new audiences, and the number of strangers that we see now following the Lord Lieutenant on Twitter, and by stranger I mean that in the kindest sense. It just means we don't know them intimately like we know perhaps people like the Chief Constable, who I'd expect to follow the Lord Lieutenant, and vice versa. But we're seeing lots of people with younger profiles following us, and on LinkedIn we're now seeing a business community that we've not really had the benefit of engaging with beyond the ones that know about the Lieutenancy. So lots of small, medium engaging with our work and profile on the Queen's Award for Enterprise. So that for me represents a huge opportunity and a challenge, because now we've started the ball rolling. I think we now need to make sure we have a messaging that's consistent and relevant to the newer audience that we've managed to engage in the last 2-3 months. And that's something we're working quite heavily on.
Great. Sounds great. Well done. Hello, Tara.
Hi.
Hi, Nick. Hi, Brad.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hi, John. Hi, David.
David.
Hi,
Simon, Moira.
Hi.
I can see Clive there as well. Hi, Clive.
Hello.
Hi, Sue.
Hello.
I'll give it another minute or two and then we'll kick off.
I didn't know Kipper was going to be on.
David, you can't refer to my boyhood nickname.
What is that? I've known you a long time. Do I have to be more respectful now?
Yeah, probably just for the next 40 minutes, yeah. But then we can go back to business as usual after that.
Well, I've just switched on and there you were.
In full flow as usual.
Absolutely.
How are
Lovely.
you?
Really nice to see you.
You and the family well?
Absolutely, yeah. Bored rigid, but can't do a lot of things that we used to do, but you cope with that.
Yeah, I can imagine. We had, I've forgotten his surname now actually, a guy that used to work with us at KPMG passed away a couple of weeks ago. He was the chairman of Syston Council until recently.
Crikey.
Paul, was it?
No.
I'll look it up.
Not Loveday.
No.
Paul Loveday?
No, not Paul Loveday.
And not Paul, oh crikey, not the one who went off with Phil Connolly. He's not died, has he?
That's Paul Ward. No,
Paul Ward. No.
He was in the personal tax, would have worked with Elspeth. Before the call finishes, David, I'll look it up and get back to you.
Okay.
And rather than disrupt the meeting, I'll text it to you.
Yes, there's of no interest to anybody else who's participating. Yeah.
I think it has, David. We all want to know who this guy is now.
Yeah, tell us about him now.
I'm racking my brains. Paul Ward. No. How many are we expecting to get? Well, I suppose you don't know how many's coming today. How many have we got? 21. That's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's holiday season, so our numbers have been pretty volatile for the last few weeks, just because people have been away and things, and we've had apologies through. So we should pick up again once we're back from September. But yeah, 21's looking good.
Well,
everyone happy and smiling.
There are several who just don't want to do Rotary online via Zoom. I mean, one or two I've spoken to, they just. The thing is, they haven't tried it, so they don't necessarily know whether they like it or not. It's been like my old grandfather, where he hated tomatoes, but he'd never eaten one. And I think, saying, well, I don't want to do things on Zoom. We've got to adapt. That's what, if we've learned nothing else from COVID, is that we've got to make more use of technology. Otherwise, you end up being totally isolated.
Yeah, I think, I mean, my kids go to Scouts, and we tried a few of the Zoom meetings, and it just wasn't the same And so I can understand where, for some people, Rotary represents a way to be physically around other people and have that social interaction. It's very difficult to replicate that in the same way on Zoom. So as a parent, I found that with my children and some of the groups they're part of. And
but they're more activity groups, aren't they, rather than conversational groups. Conversational groups can carry on Zoom, but you can't teach them to tap out at a time, not properly, easily.
No. The one thing I think where Zoom falls over is you can't have simultaneous conversations, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's what we get in the room.
Yeah.
So
we'll do our best.
Are you suggesting, Palm, then you communicate to your children through Zoom? Then is the way you do it now?
Yeah, it's you know, I mean, I try and limit their screen time as much as possible since their schoolwork has moved online, and for me, Scouts represented the way for them to be a place for them to be away from all of that and actually mix with real people.
Yeah.
And that was taken away. It's not the same, but you know, like we're doing, groups will adapt and find a happy medium until things go back to normal. Right? Should we kick off?
I'm not getting the image. Are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine. Which image are you not getting, Patrick?
All I've got is you and half of Bob Collins above. I'm not getting the normal.
Okay. In the top right of your screen.
Yeah.
On mine it says speaker view, but yours might say something else like gallery
No,
view.
it doesn't. I haven't got that at all. No.
Oh, really? Are you on your phone or laptop?
No laptop. But just normally it's okay, but.
Yeah. Usually on my screen.
Oh, that's I've got that. That's okay. I've got you anyway. So.
Okay.
What matters?
You'll have to make do with me. Sorry, Patrick.
Yeah.
But usually there's a button in the top right where you can switch between different kinds of views. In my case, I've got everybody on one screen, but
That's the gallery view. Yeah.
Yeah, but don't worry, Patrick. We're recording anyway, so you can always.
All right. Well, I could get a gallery review. It was where the connect was connecting rather peculiarly.
Oh.
Okay. Don't worry.
Okay. Okay. Right. I'm just gonna press the mute button. It's just easier to manage that way. And everybody will be allowed to unmute themselves later once we go to questions, and same with the speaker, Liz Wilson. So welcome everybody to our the Leicester Rotary Club meeting being held on the 24th of August 2020. I'm Pandit Videsha, the president, and I would just like to start with welcoming our guest. We have the Lord Lieutenant Mike Kapoor, who's I'm just going to unmute so he can just introduce himself. Or perhaps, Mike, I think you can do it yourself from your end. There we go.
Yeah. Thanks, Pandit, and I'm delighted to be with you here this afternoon. Would you like me to say a few words now or wait till later?
Let's wait until after Liz is finished. I just wanted for everybody to hear your voice and know that you're there. So it's great to have you on board.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. We also do you have any other visiting guests aside from Liz, our speaker? No, not today. Okay. Any greetings from other clubs?
Yes, greetings from Novus. Rodney Spokes and I join in on their Zoom, very interesting Zoom talk, and then extensive long discussion with the president of our IBI in Ipswich. I didn't get a chance to get in and point out that the Leicester Club helped to found Ipswich, but no, it was a very interesting, very good talk, and it worked very well. So there's greetings from Novus for the two of us, and also, I suppose, from the president of our IBI.
That's great. Thank you, Patrick.
I bring you greetings from the Rotary Club of Crosby in Liverpool, and the greetings of the Rotary Club of Formby, also in Liverpool. What be interesting to note for members is that the Rotary Club of Crosby take a holiday every year, and they are currently on holiday and do not reconvene until the 10th of September because their membership is that low that there's no point of having a meeting during the month of August. So that's what they do. But I just thought that would be interesting. But I bring you greetings from both of those clubs. I'm doing the rounds in this area to find out where I want to be, thank you, or more importantly, where they want me to be.
Yeah, Oh, that's good. So when you say the numbers are low, what sort of numbers are they?
16.
16.
Yeah.
So they just take a month off. Do they still meet weekly?
No. Oh yes, they meet weekly, but not during their month.
Mm.
But they raised they raised last year. They raised £4,000 last year on a Christmas sleigh ride around Crosby, which obviously will not happen this year. They also raised £7,000 on a beer festival, which is now planned for October 2021. So I will send an invite down if anybody wants to come to a beer festival for a weekend.
Oh, I wouldn't mind an invite to that. Sounds good. Thank you, Paul. Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on. Any secretary's notices? None? No?
I'll have to unmute. No, there are none.
Okay. Anything from any committee chairman to report? Okay. So we will move straight on to our speaker. So Liz, if you don't mind unmuting yourself, and I can then, there'll be a button.
Okay.
Yes, there we go. Found it. Okay, excellent. And you're going to be telling us all about the Dementia Charity Playlist for Life.
That's
Take
correct.
it away. Thank you, Liz.
So I'll just share my screen with you all first.
Yeah, if you have any trouble, I might need to just set you up for that.
It says you've disabled me.
Yeah, try now.
Okay. There we go. Can you all see the first slide, connect through music?
I can. Yep.
Good. Well, thank you for inviting me along to speak to you all today. This is a new experience for Playlist as we all embrace Zoom as well. It means that we can still continue to visit groups such as yourself and spread the word about our charity. It also means that I don't have to make long journeys to Leicester from close to Edinburgh. I can do it all virtually, so it's a good way for us to work too. Today, I would like to cover these areas: an introduction to Playlist for Life, how we started, our story, the science behind the use of personalised music, and a few wee tips for you on how to become a music detective to make a playlist for yourself or for someone else, and also share with you the benefits of using playlists with people living with dementia, but not just for people living with dementia. I'm hoping today that after you've heard what I have to say, that you'll all go away and start thinking about what music you would like to have on your personal playlist. The one thing that people have discovered during lockdown was how much music could bring comfort to them or remind them of happier times, calmer times in their lives. So it's very much a good thing to do. I'm a volunteer with Playlist, and I started really at the beginning of our story and have seen how it has grown through coming along to groups such as yourself and giving talks. The power of the spoken word and passing on word of mouth is really powerful for us. So our story started with these ladies here. Writer and broadcaster Sally Magnuson, who some of you might know her father, who was Magnus Magnusson, who mastermind I'll Started So I'll Finish fame. Sally and her sisters or siblings cared for their mother Mamie at home, who lived with a diagnosis of dementia. And they came to know that in difficult days, when Mamie's journey progressed and she was no longer really able to communicate as she had done, when they played her some of her songs and music from her past, she would start to join in, to harmonise, to sing along with them. And after she'd been singing, she would start to speak again. She would have a conversation with them about the music and the memory attached. after Mamie's death in 2013, Sally set about trying to find out, had they simply been lucky? Had it been that because her mum liked singing, she enjoyed music, that this worked for her? Or was there a connection? Why was it that when she was no longer able to speak, know who she was or where she was in the world, she could remember every word to a song that she would sing from her past? And so she visited America, she visited neuroscientists in Edinburgh and other areas and looked into it and found that actually, no, they hadn't been lucky, that music was indeed a powerful tool. And she wrote a book, Where Memories Go, which tells the story of Mamie's journey. Since starting the charity in 2013, we now work in three main areas. We now have, from humble beginnings, we now have an office in Glasgow with paid staff, not just volunteers like myself. So we work in three main areas: raising awareness, coming out to give talks such as this, going to community groups to raise awareness, to family carer groups to tell them about the power of music. We set up help points throughout the UK. We're still doing this. Obviously, some of them had to be closed during lockdown, but they're gradually starting to reopen again. Many of them are run by church groups, they're in libraries, they're in community groups that maybe have memory cafes. We work with Alzheimer's Society and also with some of the council areas that deal in care. And in these community networks, in the community help points, they're run by volunteers. We train them for free. It costs us about £150 to set one up, to give the training, to give them the paperwork they need. And they're up and running then as a help point for people to go and find out how to find a playlist and how to use it. We also work in the area of training. We go out to care homes, to healthcare professionals, and provide certified training to them. Indeed, the Care Commission look now for our plaque, which says Playlist for Life building, Playlist for Life community. And they look for this because it is a real person-centred approach to care. There's nothing more person-centred than someone's personal playlist, a list of music from their past. Our training now, a lot of the training has commenced again, it's recommenced, and we're able to do it through webinars online. So why is it? Why is music special? What is it that's special about music? Well, we know through science tells us when they hook someone up to a real-time scanner that it stimulates many parts of the brain at once. If I was to give a mathematician a mathematical problem to solve and linked him up to a scanner, we would see the area of his brain that deals with problem solving lighting up. However, if I played music to him, we would see nearly every part of his brain light up as it travels along the various neural pathways and reaches different areas of his brain. If I was then to play a piece of music that had a special memory attached to him, we would see all these pathways light up like a fireworks display as they all linked, connected, and went off. We know that this response continues even when the brain is under attack by dementia. It can still find an area, another pathway, even when one's damaged, to travel along, to tap into the area of our brain where our autobiographical memories are stored. This is based, Playlist for Life is based on the Gardner Protocol, which was a 20-year study done over in America, which looked at the power of music on the brain of those living with dementia. And they found that personally meaningful music, is the most powerful. That's music. We've all had it when you're out and about, maybe in a car or in a supermarket, and a piece of music comes over the radio or the tannoy, and it stops you in your tracks, takes you back to a time, a place, an event, or a person in your life, and you're transported back to that time. That response still happens even when someone has dementia. So we know that music that gives you that flashback feeling can be a lifeline when someone is living with dementia. And we've got a wee asterisk here because many of people, as I said before, have said it's helped them through those difficult times. They've listened to music, it's reminded them of family and friends that they could no longer meet up with during lockdown. People that is like Ken. Ken's story is that Ken lives at home, cared for by his wife and his wider family. The type of dementia that Ken has means that it affects his spatial awareness. In short, Ken doesn't know where he ends and the world begins. Every step he takes is a leap of faith. For when he steps off something or steps over a door threshold, he feels like he doesn't know where the ground is. He's falling into a black hole. So his mobility is affected by this, and he doesn't get around or move around as much as he used to because his balance is badly affected. The family got in touch with our office early on, and they asked about setting up a playlist, how to do it, and they set about it. His daughter-in-law started, she downloaded tracks for Ken to listen to. And a few months later, they sent this video in to us of Ken listening to one of his pieces of music. Now, I know that when we play this over Zoom, sometimes it doesn't sync properly, but hopefully you will get the picture and get the idea. So that was Ken. Bear in mind what I told you before about Ken's mobility and his balance. And yet, when he listened to Let's Twist Again, he was up dancing, he was enjoying himself, he was laughing, he was engaging with the family. It had helped them connect and reunite them. He, further on in the video, he goes down to twist up and down on his own without holding on to the hands of his daughter-in-law. So it's helped him recall that ability. We have people who maybe, as I said, as Sally's mother, as my own mother-in-law, were no longer able to communicate as they had done. Words had left them in droves. They were finding it difficult to communicate. And yet, when they listened to their music, they would sing along. And then they would start to string their sentences together and speak about the music and the memory attached to it. And because it takes them back to a nice place, a nice memory, it restores a sense of who they are and what they are in the world. It also, as we all know, music can help manage moods. It can help cheer us up or calm us down. This still happens with someone who has dementia. It can perk them up at times when they really feel quite down with life. And if they're anxious or agitated, that's often when they can want to pace, to walk a lot, to maybe have stressful behaviour. If they listen to their music, then that can help calm all of that situation down. The protocol that we base it on suggests that playing it 30 minutes before difficult transitions. For example, if someone finds it difficult when it's time to get undressed, to go to bed, when darkness falls, playing and listening to their music half an hour prior to this helps take them back to a nice, calm place in their memory and helps calm them down for about another 45 minutes after they've listened to it and gets them over that difficult transition. Our hospital here, near where I live, advise families to do this prior to someone perhaps going to an outpatient appointment. Or if it's on a little MP3 player with headphones, they can listen to it in the waiting area. So it's less stressful for them, less scary for them in an unknown environment. My dentist is now letting families know about it and suggesting that they also do this, or she'll play it over her sound system while they're in for their consultation. It can also reduce the need for drugs. One care home we worked with in the west of Scotland reported back that one of the ladies that they were using it with, they had spoken to the GP to say to him she was needing less and less of the medication they used to calm her down at difficult times. And they wanted to check with him, was this okay? So he came in and they looked into it all, and they did it under controlled measures. And he said, absolutely yes. He now prescribes in the first line, music first before medication. But the big difference for her was because she wasn't medicated, she was more awake. So when family and friends went in to visit, she was more alert, she was more with them, she was able to have a conversation. And she was also less likely to fall because she was more alert and not sleepy, getting up from a sleep and falling. The home reported to us that through the GP and themselves, they'd now reduced the need for drugs with other people down to 60% in their care facility. The other thing I want to talk to you about today is the music detective skills. For yourself, and if you're making a list up for someone else, we know that the memory bump, the time when we make the most memories, we gather in the most memories, is between the age of 10 and 30 years. That's the time when we are at school, we're moving on to secondary school, making friends, following bands, perhaps playing in a band, playing sport, going to the Scouts, the Brownies, the Guides, moving on to working life or university, falling in love, falling out of love, getting married, maybe having children, following certain bands, going to concerts. All of these memories often happen between that age, that memory bump that scientists talk about. So when we look at helping someone make up a playlist, we look at the year of their birth and look at the years between the age of 10 and 30 when we start to look at music for them. We also look at inheritance tracks, tracks that maybe they've listened to because of their mother and father, things that they listened to, music that was around the home, maybe music that they've listened to or been forced to listen to from their teenagers that were in the house, as they had the music blaring out from bedrooms that would remind them of them. Maybe it was a lullaby that was sung to them as a child. Identity tracks, the tracks of where you lived, of your culture, of your religion. We look at these too, whilst looking to make up a playlist, a personal playlist of music for someone. We have a resources page on our website, which is very helpful. We have conversation starters that you can look at to do for yourself, or if you're chatting to someone about creating a playlist. Questions that would come up about special places, special holidays, venues you went to visit, maybe concerts you went to, bands you followed. We have a music journal you can download. This is particularly useful for someone who is living with dementia, because in the journal, you can write the piece of music, the memory that's attached to it, and is it a happy song? You can put the ones in that are my happy place, songs that remind me of my school days, songs that remind me of my family. We also have, one of our volunteers compiled 100 years, a century of song. It's each decade in song, and it's really good. You can go on the website and order it, or you can download each decade for free. And a lot of the families that I've worked with have done this. They've downloaded each decade, and it's been a real help to them. If they looked up 1963, they would see all the hits from that year and be able to look at them, play them, and see if they get a reaction from the person. So if you're making a playlist for someone with dementia, ask family and friends, ask around, ask their siblings, their children, their husbands, their close friends of music that they're aware that they listen to, or special times, family celebrations, weddings they went to. Make a long list. It's easy. You start off with a pen and paper, make a long list. Listen to it with them, listen together, see if you get a reaction, see if they tell you about the music or they chat about the memory. I recently helped someone, we've been doing this as a trial over the phone, and the lady's daughter said, oh, she'll definitely want the Pirates of Penzance, because she went to see that, she liked it, the chorus. So I downloaded it and we played other pieces of music over the phone to her, and when we played that one, she said, oh no, we can't have it, because her mum had her hands over her ears and became quite agitated. It obviously was just too speedy, too quick, because it's quite quick lyrics, it's very fast, it was noisy, it didn't have the effect she'd thought it would have. So we would class that as a red flag song, one to avoid. Sometimes people will become emotional and shed a tear. Tears aren't always a bad thing, it can be because you're happy. However, if someone consistently got upset or was tearful when they listened to that, again, that's a red flag song, you wouldn't have that on the playlist. We know, because we've been going for 7 years now, the feedback we've had from the PhD students who have worked with us, working with families, they've told us that family carers experience a sense of renewed closeness, a connection with their loved one, which helps relieve their stress and improve their well-being. There is nothing worse than feeling that you're no longer able to connect with the person you love, that perhaps someone else is taking on their care and you're no longer doing these things, having that contact with your loved one, that at times they no longer know who you are. And so we know that since they've started using their music and listening to it together, you'll see these two ladies here both have headphones on listening to it. We recommend that it's a shared experience. You can use a splitter cable to plug in headphones into a tablet or an MP3 player, or even into the television now, to share and listen to the music together, so you can share the experience and sing along. People like Sybil and Jim. Sybil came along to a talk. She was a member of a group that I went along to speak to, the Seroptimists. And she came afterwards and said that her husband was living at home with dementia, but he'd had a serious fall and he was now in the local community hospital. Since going in there, he was not communicating, he was non-communicative. Visits were difficult. When she went to see him, he would be asleep, he wasn't really speaking. And staff had suggested that perhaps she was needing a break too, because she was quite stressed about all of this. She really left most days very upset. And she came at the end and said, I think this may just help. I think I might try it. So she went away home, and the next day I got a phone call. And it wasn't the flat, depressed voice that I'd heard from Sybil the night before. It was an excited voice. She said, I've hardly slept all night. I've thought about what you told me, and I've actually started to look for music in our CDs, look at tracks that Jim would like. And I'm going to go in today with the CD player and I'm going to try it. And I had to prepare her, I had to manage her expectations. This is not a cure. It's a tool to use. It doesn't work right away. Sometimes it can take weeks of listening to the music and seeing how the person reacts. However, off Sybil went. And a week later, she phoned me back and she said, it's just been great. I played the music to Jim the first day, And I noticed that his eyes were closed, but he was tapping his fingers. I've persevered, I've gone in every day, I've played different pieces of music. He played in a band, I've managed to get that. I phoned his daughter, I found the song that he used to sing to her. I've been playing that. And the other day, Jim was awake. He held his hands out to Sybil for the first time in weeks to hold them as if to dance. He was tapping his feet, and then he started to sing along. He was croaky at first because he hadn't spoken for weeks. Indeed, when he started to sing, one of the nurses, it stopped her in her tracks because she'd never heard Jim's voice and she couldn't quite believe that here he was singing. And here's what Sybil had to say about her experience of Playlist.
Oh, we had a very exciting life. We met in 1985, so that's where the story began. And it was very sad to see that he wasn't the man that I knew. We had a speaker from Playlist. Liz came along, and I just knew that would be the answer for me. But this gave me a way out. I could go check the music, and I could just sit with him. We had some very lovely afternoons listening to music.
So that was Sybil, and that was the difference that it made to her and Jim. Sadly, Jim passed away some months ago, but Sybil was so determined to spread the word about Playlist and the difference it made to her that through the Seroptimists, where she lives, they went to the local library and they started up a local help point. And she now helps others have the same experience as she had with her husband. Such was the power of the music for Jim. And we have many resources now on our website that helps you, that can help you to go on and have a look. So I would encourage you all to go on the website, have a look at other films, other videos, other stories, the resources we have to help. There's videos explaining to people how to download music, what devices to use, how to go about it. Our mission at Playlist is to ensure that everyone living with a dementia diagnosis can access their own personal playlist of music. My mission is to go out and encourage people like yourselves to start looking for your own music now. Some of you may already have music on your phones, your iPads, your iPods that you have. Start doing it now. I've done one for my husband, I've got my own. I'm not leaving it to my son and daughter to do it because I know they would go up into my attic, they would find my Brian Ferry LPs and they would download every track. I didn't buy them for every track, I usually bought them for one. And if they downloaded every track, I would not be a happy lady having to sit and listen to every one. So do it now, write them down, compile your playlist, do it for family and friends. It's a lovely thing to do, to listen. You'll remember things from your past that had long been forgotten that will bring these memories back. But my last video today is of Carol and Malcolm. Carol and Malcolm actually appeared on the One Show, maybe you saw them, and they've become ambassadors for Playlist. Carol has young onset dementia and she was very down, obviously, when she got her diagnosis, and she then started to use her music. And here's them telling their story.
Inside me, it's almost more than I can take. Woo! Carla was diagnosed with dementia about 3.5 years ago. We were signposted to a group at St Andrew's Church. They then signposted us to Playlist, and things just took off from there.
Playlist is an absolutely wonderful thing. You pick songs for your own life. It can be any song that you like that means something to you and brings back a memory. When you're sad or low or feeling grumpy, then Malcolm puts my CD on and I'm up dancing and jumping, and it's absolutely wonderful. And it's a thing just now with this, the
coronavirus.
Aye. With that, you can speak to your loved ones on the phone and get them talking about things from when they were young and ask them about music. It's absolutely wonderful. And please, 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 everybody, do it.
So you heard Carol, everybody do it. And that's what we hope you'll do. We hope you'll go away and help share the power of music. Make a playlist for yourself or someone you love. Don't put it off, do it now. Make a donation, many groups. In fact, here where I live, it was our local Rotary group that helped us start up and made a donation so that we could, when we were given training to caregivers, they were given an iPod to go away with, an MP3 player to go away with and start making up their music. Volunteer with us. You might want to become a volunteer. You might think there's an area down near you in Leicester where it would be a good area for a help point, or you might want to be a speaker or a networker with us. Most importantly, please go away from this today and tell someone else. As I said before, word of mouth is the most powerful tool for us at the moment. Tell them about Playlist for Life. So thank you, and thank you for giving me time at your meeting to speak to you about the charity. That was a whistle-stop tour around what we do. And if anyone's got any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Thank you, Liz. If members do have questions, you can just unmute yourself and go ahead. And just while we're waiting for members to do that, can I ask a question about your dealings with the music companies and copyrights and that sort of thing? Is that something you need to spend a lot of time worrying about?
No, because what happens is when people download the music, they're paying for it. You're downloading music through Amazon Music, through Spotify, YouTube. So it's done, you actually own it.
Got it.
Someone downloads the music. You don't have to have it on an MP3 player. Some people simply listen to it from their CDs. Others have been listening actually via YouTube from their television. Or using their Alexa, they'll make up the playlist and then they can say, Alexa, play Dad's playlist. Or so there's, since we started, there's so many new ways to listen, but no, you own it because you buy it.
Okay, great, thank you. Do you have any questions from the members? And if you do, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
I've stunned everybody into silence.
They're too busy creating their playlists, I think. I think it's a wonderful concept, and it's like you say, it's worth doing now, isn't it? Because you don't want somebody else to create that for you. And also, as you were talking, I was thinking of videos I'd created with my children and things we'd been up to. I thought alongside the music, there'd be other things that I'd want that would remind me of happy times. You know?
Yes. Nick, did you have a question?
Yeah, it was just a quick one, really. Just listening to you and your story is sort of set around Glasgow, Edinburgh. How far across the country has this spread? Are there sort of places right the way across the country? And
yes, all the way down to Cornwall.
Oh, excellent.
We've just taken on, just before lockdown, we received a grant from Rotary and we took on local networkers that cover south of the border, down the rest of the UK. Our story started in Glasgow, but we now cover the whole of the UK. and health boards across the whole of the UK, care providers across the whole of the UK are aware of us and using Playlist.
Thank you.
Great. Simon.
Liz, it's very interesting, and thank you for your talk. I just wondered if there's been any research into prevention rather than the improvement of the cure, in terms of, you know, whether people who are very amenable to music are less likely to suffer from dementia.
Sadly, no. Research hasn't shown that, but there's lots of things out now. There was something on actually on the television last week about it, and I've carried out a course with a university in Australia where they give advice to things we can change in our lifestyle that could possibly help prevent certain types. But there's more than 100 types of dementia. But music doesn't prevent it. But what we do say is music is good at any time to help stimulate all parts of the brain, helps tap into the autobiographical memories, but it's also used now for people with Parkinson's and stroke patients as well, because they know that it can get into these other neural pathways. I know someone who has Parkinson's who uses it, and when they listen to the music, after a certain amount of time, their walking is better. They're not shaking when they're walking quite as much. The tremor's gone with their voice and their hands as well. But just like with dementia, sadly, that's not permanent. It's short-lived for that period of time.
Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you, Liz. Really appreciate having you come and share your story. And I've looked at your website. It's a very good website. I encourage the members to go and have a look. It's very simple and very engaging. And I was particularly drawn to the science section because as you were talking, I was kind of reminded of the kind of Pavlovian response where the music has been associated with a life event. I'm just wondering whether there has been any research on other things aside from music that might also trigger similar sorts of reactions, perhaps tactile things people can touch or pictures of places they've been to, that sort of thing.
These things are used in a lot of care facilities and at home for people when they're doing their reminiscing. And there'll maybe be objects that will come out that they'll look at, or photographs. They'll often have their life story in pictures. And sometimes smells can evoke memories as well. But what we do know is our ability to hear sound starts at 16 weeks in the womb, and it's the last thing to go before death. So our ability to hear the sound of music, because the first sound we hear is our mother's heartbeat, and we know through science that when someone is in a coma or they are near to death and they are not communicating, they're unconscious, you're often told to keep speaking, keep playing music, because we know the brain can still respond to the music. There's still some response there. But what our research has shown, and the study done at the university in America was that as where people living with dementia were concerned, the most powerful thing to tap into their autobiographical memory was their personal music. Which time and time again, people come and say to me at the end of a talk when I go to a group, so many people come and say, if only we had known, I could have used this with my husband, with my mother, with my father. And one lady said, such a simple thing, and yet such a powerful tool to have. And it really is.
Great, thank you. Thank you once again. So we're just going to have a few words now from our esteemed guest, Lord Lieutenant Mike Kapoor. Mike, if you could unmute yourself, please.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, I can. Yeah, great. Please go ahead.
Great. Thank you. Well, good afternoon, Club President, ladies and gentlemen. Delighted to be able to join you this afternoon. And I'm also very honoured that you've asked me to remain an honorary member of the club. I think there's a long association between Lord Lieutenants and the Rotary Club of Leicester, and I'm very, very pleased to be able to continue that. Liz, really enjoyed your talk on about playlist. In fact, one of the things that we're doing at Leicester City Football Club is we're using people's memories of famous sporting occasions, perhaps the FA Cup final of 1969, I think it was, and trying to bring players back to talk to them. It works very well, but it's very labour intensive, not easy to organise, and certainly not as flexible as the work you do. So my congratulations to you on all that you do, and may I wish you continued success for a while to come. I think like the work that Liz is doing, I never have ceased to be amazed by how people will step up to support those most in need across our communities. And certainly during the pandemic, the need has never been greater. It's been a unique challenge, but actually also an awful lot of people that are traditionally those that volunteer to help are now exactly those that find themselves the most vulnerable in the face of this virus. But what has happened is that organisations up and down this city and county have come together and continue to do the great work, and your Rotary Club is clearly one of those, and for that I'd like to give you my wholehearted thanks. I'm also impressed, having read your last two newsletters which were kindly sent to me, about the work that you're trying to do to engage with younger volunteers. I think the one thing the pandemic has shown us is that when the need arose, actually an army of volunteers came with no history of volunteering. They just stepped up to the plate. They had a little bit of spare time. They chose not to isolate themselves, and actually they chose to come along and fill the gap that's been left in the volunteering sector. So again, I'd encourage the club to continue down that trajectory. I think that would be tremendously fruitful to you all. I'm also impressed by the fact you managed to continue to raise money. Very pleased to see Charity Link, which is a charity that I'm a patron of locally, receive some money, and Age UK, which is a charity also that I know well. But actually, I know that the last few months have been challenging to many organisations, including Rotary clubs. But what I'd like to do is to thank you all in particular for all that you have managed to achieve, and to give you my best wishes for the future. And I'm sure that better times will come again. And what I do actually look forward to is an opportunity, as soon as I'm able to come and see you all again in person when the time's right. Thank you.
That'd be fantastic, and we'd love to have you back. You spoke with us, was it last year? When was the last time you were?
I think it was 2 years ago. I came and bored you all rigid with a talk about space. It may have been 3 years ago, actually. I think David Brunton will remember.
Oh, really? That long ago? Wow, just be like it.
So probably do an invite back.
No, we'd love to have you back. Thank you, Mike.
Sorry, can I just quickly say, Mike, you spoke about football. Many of the playlists that go out to people that people compose have football songs on them. Right. From when they've gone and they've been in the stands and they've sung the songs, and you can actually get them online.
Oh, brilliant. I hope the expletives have been removed from
it's the ones that are okay to be, they've been censored.
Liz, just on a point there, if I might just take this opportunity to say, Liz, if you'd like a connection with the community team at the nearest football club up in Scotland to where you are, we'd be very happy to get that sorted out from Leicester City for you.
Oh, right. Okay, very good. That would be good.
No problem. I'll perhaps go through Palmdeep and get those details and then send them up to you by email.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, happy to help. Okay, so Richard, would you like to say a couple of words about anything to do with the situation, COVID-wise? You might need to unmute, Richard.
No.
Yeah, that's it.
No, I mean, as far as the hospital is concerned, we have a handful of patients still in hospital, and as I said, I think there have been 2 deaths in the last 3 weeks. So it's not an issue of sickness at the moment, and I will refrain from passing any further comment. Otherwise, I tend to roll onto my back with my arms in the air, foaming at the mouth. So I will say no more.
Okay, doke. Well, it's just good to have you there, even if there isn't too much to report, just as a sort of a reassuring voice, I think. So thanks for that. Next week, it's a bank holiday, and the week after, on the 7th, we have Nigel Rose from Hope Against Cancer, who will be giving us an update. Meetings after lunch, well, attendance today is 22, and there is a meeting today after lunch. Nick and some of our other members will be getting together. Nick's organised a meeting to do with membership, and we have a student from the De Montfort University who's looking to set up a road track club, hopefully joining us. So that should be good, and we'll update members next time we meet. So thank you all, and see you in a couple of weeks. Take care.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye. Bye.
I'm just going to check with Maria. She got the link, okay. Yep, she has the link. Okay, I'll be back in 2 seconds. Just going to grab it. Yes, Richard.
Do you mind if I join that? It's just that I met up with David Morris on last Monday. As you know, I'm the Assistant Governor for next year, and inevitably one of the primary tasks I have is to look at how we can boost our presence in the community and our membership. So do you mind if I...
No, I don't mind at all. I think it'd be great to have you on board. Yeah, just going to remind our guest Maria that we're just about to start. Back in 2 seconds, just grabbing a cup of tea.
And can I take this opportunity to say how very sorry I am that Clive Bout has had to resign from the club, also the Probus Club. I introduced him to Rotary many years ago, but he's now almost more, I think, blind. But I've said I'd keep in touch with him and visit him when it's at all possible.
Good. Hmm.
Okay, yeah, she's just logging in now.
Andy.
Yes, Nick.
I did hear from Marina just yesterday evening, in fact. If you remember, this is the person that
yes, the law student.
The law student. Anyway, her response was, "Thank you for your email and for thinking about inviting me to be part of the next activities planned. I've currently moved out of the UK in Romania due to the pandemic, and I do not know yet when I will be back. I'm still open to participating in any projects the club might have in the future, but for the time being, I will not be able to take part in anything in the UK. I hope we can keep in touch for future opportunities. I'll let you know if my location changes in order to get back to you regarding activities in the UK."
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
she's Romanian, isn't she? By nationality.
Yes. So she is interested, but not here at the moment.
Yeah, no, that's the thing I had with Maria, where a lot of her friends who she'd like to speak to get involved with us just weren't here. But